Ladies and gentlemen, the journey for focus, clarity, and mental mastery is about to begin. Live from WSIC Studios on the shores of Lake Norman, the show that gives you the tools to think sharper, sleep deeper, manage stress, and unlock your full mental potential. This is Your Brain Matters. And now, with over 30 years of brain science, more than 70,000 brain analyses, bringing neuroscience to everyday life, here's your host, Dr. Tim Royer.
Welcome back, everyone, to Your Brain Matters with your host, Dr. Tim Royer.
Yeah.
And myself, your co-host, Nurse Amy Royer. We're excited to be back.
Can you believe it?
Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving.
Yes. With their family and food.
Pumpkin pie.
All that kind of stuff.
Yeah. What's not to like about Thanksgiving? So let's kick off today with some of our neuro news and notes.
Let's do it.
So let me check with you, Doc. What's your first item on the agenda?
Well, top thing, number one, is the upcoming Reclaim Your Brain lecture. That's on December 16. Last time I stumbled and said 12, corrected myself, but it is December 16th, and that is at 7 p.m. at Verdict Ridge Country Club.
Aha. Yes, I've been to one of these before at Verdict Ridge.
One. You've been to a million and a half.
A million. And I'm still going and still listening. But it's a nice place, easy to get in and out of, easy parking.
Yeah.
So I recommend it to people. Just give yourself a nice gift and just go and sit down and relax, and we will have a cookie and some water for you. But what will be great is it's usually a really good atmosphere, and you'll learn something, which is also kind of fun, and it's very low stress. It's very interactive. And I'm going to say you're going to learn more about why your brain matters.
Absolutely. And they're actually going to see a live EEG going during the lecture where we'll be looking at brain waves on the screen, be looking at heart, breathing. It's really quite an interactive, a great opportunity. It's all free, about an hour and 15 minutes. We also are giving away a free book there where you bring all three of our books, Forge Your Own Armor, Tsunami, and Einstein, are all available. You can get to pick one for free for being. If you want, we need you to RSVP. The room's not huge, so please RSVP. The number to RSVP, you can text us, is 616-341-2299. 616-341-2299.
Awesome. Great. And I think you also were wanting to talk about the grand opening.
Oh, yeah, huge.
For the office in Birkdale.
Yeah, love it. Love it. We have been having so much fun. Opened this beginning of November, and been having a lot of our local people. Now, most of our business, or most of what we do, is virtual, where it's actually, we send equipment to people's homes. So 90% of our business is all over the world. But now that we live here, we decided let's open this little office. It's great, easy to get to, right by Birkdale Village. We're doing our grand opening the next few months and doing a giveaway where we're actually doing a full brain assessment that's normally $500. You can get your brain and nervous system fully assessed, where we see it in real time, for $250. And the way to access that is to go to yourbrainmatters.today. yourbrainmatters.today, and that will be a registration form to get this discount. We'll schedule an appointment with me and our staff. You are going to love it. I can guarantee you will like this assessment.
Yeah, it's really good. And it is actually, if you go to the lecture, it's like the next thing to do after the lecture, because you see, hear, learn at the lecture, then you're going to apply that to your own information, your own data. And Doc is great doing all of that interpretation in person, and then kind of unpacking, hey, now that we know this much, what should we do about it? So it's good. It's a really good full circle. Again, we want to remind people that we would love to give them a free copy of Einstein for anyone who's interested in the work that we do. The book, Extinguishing Einstein, is kind of a fabulous summary of what it is that we're up to. Sometimes when we talk about what we do, it's like rocket science or like we work with this person, that person, kind of people might wonder what it is actually when it gets all boiled down. And I would say that the book Einstein encapsulates kind of getting right down to the basics, which for us is going upstream to the source, dealing with that, helping the person help themselves, and then seeing the results downstream. And basically, Einstein is a short book about start to finish that process.
Yeah, and chapter 1, you will love chapter 1 because it just reveals kind of the dark side of medical care and what's happening primarily to our kids in our culture. So to get the free copy, everything's free so far.
Yeah, we're kind of
just giving stuff away.
Holidays,
How is Royer Neuroscience
Christmas,
making any money? Okay.
Santa, ho, ho, ho.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So you go to RoyerNeuroscience.com, RoyerNeuroscience.com, and there's a free book button. You hit that book, collect some information, and we send that book to your front door free of charge. So as we finish up the Neuro News and Notes, I've been starting to ask people on my Who's Who list, and it doesn't have to be the Who's Who list, but I've been asking people, why does your brain matter? So I sent out texts to a bunch of different people from my, contact list, and we got this one back. This is from a really good friend and colleague, Dr. Ryan Bentley, out of Michigan. He actually should go by Dr. Bentley because not only is an MD, he's a doctor of chiropractic work. He's also a PhD in chemistry. This guy is a functional medicine guru. We fly him all over the country to see our pro athletes, our executives. The guy just knows everything. So we asked him, we said, Dr. Bentley, why does your brain matter? And Amy's going to read his response. Let's go.
Okay. It's loaded.
Loaded.
Right? So I feel like once I read it, I was like, oh, this is what the whole next year is going to be about. But so here's what he says. Your brain matters because it's not just the control center. It's the master conductor orchestrating every cell, every heartbeat, and every healing response in your body. Most people think of the brain as just processing thoughts and memories, but here's what they miss. Your brain directly controls your immune function, your hormone production, and your body's ability to repair itself. Every decision you make, every toxin you encounter, every nutrient you consume, they all impact this 3-pound universe between your ears. Your brain determines whether your body degenerates or regenerates. When we optimize brain function through proper nutrition, avoiding and or removing toxins, and provide cellular support, we don't just think better, we regenerate better. That's why your brain matters. It's literally the difference between a body that breaks down and one that brilliantly adapts and heals itself every single day.
Wow.
Right? That's
a mic drop.
It is a mic drop. It's kind of stunning.
Yes.
But when we talked in our first episode about the 2-minute drill being like, think about why or how your brain matters, this is a cool response about the brain. And we each have one. So this response can be applied to each of us. So this is why my brain matters, but it's also why your brain matters.
True.
Because of all these things. So,
awesome. I love this whole concept of whether it's going to decline or regenerate itself.
Yeah.
And it's how we take care of it. Awesome. Thank you, Dr.
Bentley. We are going into the mind. This is our second section. where we like to interview someone and find out a little bit more about what's going on in their mind.
Yes.
And it's a pretty easy one today.
Is it?
We're going into the mind of Dr. Tim Royer.
Oh, shoot. We may never come out.
It could be a dark
Is there like
hole.
nothing?
I'm not sure.
Is there nothing in there? Hello.
It's
hello.
in there. All right.
It's echoing.
So, well, and remember, you did bring your brain with you.
Yes, I got my brain because my brain
case.
matters, and I got to have an extra one just in case.
Just in case we do have that.
Yeah.
But we know you do have your brain, and
Yes.
your brain matters. And
Amen.
so we're going to just have a few little interview questions to find out a little bit more about you, why you do what you do, and how you do it.
Yeah,
All
let's
right?
go.
Okay. So, Tim, take
Yeah.
us back to why neuroscience? Where did this begin for you?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And unlike Amy, who, if you remember from the first episode we did with Amy, she said, I always wanted to be a nurse. I always wanted to take care of people. She said her mom was a nurse. She just always knew she was going to be a nurse. I can tell you that I did not have any idea whatsoever that I'd be sitting in this chair right here talking about a brain, okay? I love sports. I was involved in sports. My dad was a football coach, college football coach. I thought I'd be doing something in sports. So when I got to college, I thought, well, maybe I should do something a little bit more. So I'll go into business. So I went into business. That lasted about 6 months and went to my supervisor and said, hey, my advisor said, hey, I want to change major. So I went over to sports. Thought, well, I'll become a coach. Did that for about 6 months, a year. Came back to my supervisor and said, I think maybe I might want to go into the ministry or something. So I switched over to theology. Came back the fourth time and I said, hey, I don't think I want to do this. I don't know what to do. And my advisor took my file and he handed it to me. He says, I'm not the guy for you. And I'm like, what? You're supposed to be my advisor. He goes, I'm just a little bit more if you wanted to go into business, I would have taken. He says, here's your file. He literally handed me my file. And I'm like, what the heck? So you're not going to believe this, but I knew I needed an advisor. So the office next door to the business department was the psychology department. I was like, what the heck? I went in. First guy I met, actually, I had no idea, but he was a roommate of my stepdad, who was chair of the department, and we became good friends. And my journey.
I have a side note.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I knew Doc or Tim during this time, and we had a lot of freshman classes together, and I was aware of him as I had met him the first day. But I was aware that he was switching his major every 6 months, and I was like, this guy. He needs to get it together at some point. He has no direction. But anyway, go back to where you finally met the right advisor. This is where a lot of this is about having a good advisor.
True. But I mean, I got to add to that now that you said that. So Amy's parents came to town and I met them, and her dad's a physician. Mom's a nurse. They were missionaries in Bangladesh building a hospital. Very, fun-loving people, but very serious about their professions. And her dad asked me, what's your major? And I said, it's fun declared. And he looked at me like,
classic.
Are you a stinking idiot? Who is this guy? But I started to find my way. I didn't really fit in with the psychology department, again, because, I was just a little bit different. We went off to... I started to like what it was going on with it, and so we decided, I needed a master's to do that. So we went down to Atlanta, got the master's degree, and I didn't know if I really wanted to be, lay on the couch, tell me about your childhood kind of guy, but I did. It fascinated me how the brain worked and stuff, and I really started to branch into neuropsych, and that was something that kind of clicked with me. Because it was very mathematical, measuring IQ, measuring deficits in the brain. And there was this technical mathematical part that I always like. I love math. I love that kind of thing. And so once I got into the neuropsych side, really liked that. And then I also got into a lot of personality testing, projective testing, using the Rorschach and drawings and things like that to figure out what was underneath the hood, what was deep inside the brain. So that was very intriguing to me. And I became an expert in neuropsych testing, evaluating people. And I thought that's what it was going to be. And I got my first job at the Children's Hospital, did the neuropsych thing, was very successful there. And then I went to this conference because I wanted to get a device that I could use for kids that would measure what their body temperature was doing so that we could like teach them to decrease their fingertip body temperature, which would decrease anxiety because I was trying to address anxiety. And at this conference, I got introduced to the whole space of biometrics and analyzing. And that's when I saw my first EEG. And I saw brainwave activity on the brain. And I'm like, wow, this is really cool. And I started to make that link between the mathematical electrical energy on the EEG and why we have depression, anxiety, autism, sleep problems. And that's when the light bulb came on. That was probably 9 years into my career.
Wow.
And ever since then, man, I love neuroscience. I love it. Every time I look at a brain, it's just, wow. It's awesome.
Yeah. That's incredible. I love listening to you tell those stories because I had the advantage of being like right alongside of you through all those transitions. And I know like now I see my kids at the age that we were at that time, right?
Isn't it nuts?
And I know like, Doc, you never thought of yourself as like a good student or like a highly scientific person, but watching just the lights turn on for you during that process, because we were in Atlanta, I was working, I was bringing home the bacon, and you were going to school. And I would write Doc's papers.
Whoa, don't say that.
We'll type them.
Help me.
I
have a disability or something.
He wasn't taught in his early education how to write well. And thankfully, I had a really good teacher who taught me how to, do sentence structure. And we didn't have AI back then, right?
True. I couldn't chat GPT that stuff.
Right.
So I chat Amy did.
We actually were really writing these papers. And then typing, Doc didn't really take typing class.
No, I didn't do that either. I was playing football.
So see it. Yeah. Anyway, but so I was watching him develop in his passion for the topics we were writing about for these papers, and watching him become more successful in academics than he ever had been before. And it was because he was landing in the zone that was good for him. So that was really cool. So now that we're old and we've been in our career for a while. When you wake up in the morning, like, what would you say gets you out of bed to do your job, aside from the tea concoction that I make every morning?
Well, it is that tea concoction, that tea that you make in the morning. I like, first thing I wake up is like, when is she going to be done with that? Because that's what I get turns the lights on. Is that tea that you make with the
I can share that.
Turmeric, the ginger. Oh my gosh, the honey. I mean, it's awesome. It's awesome.
Magic.
Can I get one of those right now? No, I think, what gets me up is it's a combination of things. It's helping people. Like, we're literally changing lives. In a culture where people aren't given a lot of hope, or it's just check boxes. Let's put 8 million children in the box of ADHD, and, you've got a sleep problem. Every single person is unique. Every single brain is unique.
Right.
God has made you in a very special way. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. And so there's a combination of this faith that I have in this creator that's made the most wondrous thing in the universe that allows me to see the science through a lens of, man, every one of these people are unique. And we have an opportunity to do something very sacred, work with the most precious thing that they possess, their brain. I mean, it's like one step away from God. I mean, it's just, he created this thing, right? And we get to be a part of that, like what he made, and try to help with that. Not me one step away from God. I'm talking about I'm talking about that the brain is like the closest thing that we have, right?
Right. Yep.
And so we get to be a part of that. And I'd say the other thing is getting out of the traditional side of things and really interfacing with technology and AI and all of these new things is we're on the cusp, Royer Neuroscience is, of how to measure these things in real time across space. I was looking at somebody in Hong Kong the other day. Like, I'm looking at their brain from my room in Charlotte, right? Like, what is this all about? And so I love that kind of stuff. That creative stuff is really gets me fired up. And I'm always looking at what's new. Now, we used to have this thing called the box of shame. We still have it at the house. The box of shame, which is all of Tim's things that he's trying to invent. And Amy's like, what are we doing with this box, right?
Yes.
Now, is the box getting smaller?
It is, relatively speaking.
Oh, shoot. You're not going to take.
Yes. It's not a straight out. Yeah. But I mean, with anything like this that you're doing, you're going to have some fallout from the different things that you've tried. And I will say about Doc that he, for some reason, never stops trying, which I would have given up many times ago. But he keeps trying and trying, which is why I asked him what gets him up in the morning, because that's what's driving everything. So we were going to talk about what's it like for you to work with me as your partner.
I was trying to avoid that question.
We've run out of time.
Yes. Thank you. Did you get that? Was a stall tactic.
It might be good, being as our anniversary is coming up in the next couple of days. Maybe that wasn't good timing to talk about that on the radio. So we'll talk about it next time. What's it like to work with me? The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Oh, it's all beautiful. Let's go.
Okay, we are cruising right into the science corner.
Let's go.
Yep. And what we wanted to talk about today was how the autonomic nervous system activates the HPA axis.
Oh, that hurts my head. You just hurt my brain.
I know, because that activation affects the entire body. So it's a big deal. So we already talked about the brain, the oxygen that gives it energy. We talked a bit about the autonomic nervous system last week. And so it's the next step. So, I mean, you guys are getting smarter, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
But this is deep and rich science that we're going to go into. So don't plan on remembering every single thing that we say. But if you could get the gist of what is going on in this whole activation of the HPA axis, I think one thing I would put down as the backdrop for everything we're talking about is the upstream and downstream idea. So the downstream is all the behaviors and the feelings and the reactions in our body that we feel. But the upstream is going all the way up to, as we heard from Dr. Bentley, like the command center. And we're going to talk today about how the command center electrically activates all this chemical cascade of the HPA axis.
Yeah,
all right?
It's like the message that gets sent out from the command center to the entire army.
Yes.
And this is your plan, your game plan, and it sends it out through this vehicle.
Right.
So I would like to just say a couple things as we start. One is we haven't always known all of this stuff. This isn't what I went to school for.
No.
And I'm going to say that I was 10 years into my career before I started to put these things together. You know, I'm an expert at studying the brain in relation to diagnoses and neuropsych and those kind of things. But then starting to think, well, how does this whole thing work? And so then you bring in all this kind of like medical science side, which is really Amy's forte. And I can still remember her handing me this book. We've mentioned this before. And she kept like sliding it like on my nightstand or on my desk. And I'm like, I don't got time for this, Amy. And she goes, you have to read this book. And I'm going to say to you guys, imagine Amy keeps leaving this book on your nightstand. You need to read this book. This changed the face of the last 25 years of what we've done. And that is Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers by Robert Sapolsky out of Stanford. A game changer. got to be on your list for 2026.
It's pretty good. I mean, it's very long, which is a downer
Not
for me.
that long.
It's long.
John's reading like this. What's this book? This Western thing that he's
The
reading.
Lonesome Dove.
It's like 8,000 pages.
I know. He told me to read it, and I was like, in my next life.
This isn't even close. It's like 200 pages.
I don't know. It seemed long,
250.
but you can listen to it on Audible.
And he's so funny. Dr. Sapolsky is hilarious.
And you can also watch his videos on YouTube. Yes. They're really good. But the science of why zebras don't get ulcers, he just does the best job explaining it.
Yeah. So we're going to try to unpack that here in the next 5 minutes. Everything that Dr. Sapolsky has done his entire career on. No. So we've talked about the autonomic nervous system, which is using your 5 senses to decide how fast you can go. And so we use those senses and it decides, do I need to go into sympathetic, which is a very fast fight, flight state, or do I go into parasympathetic, which is rest, digest, and renew? And in the last episode, we said humans are different than animals. Humans, we have the big frontal lobe that isn't just using the 5 senses. Sometimes we override those senses with our thought patterns because we can think in the future, we can think in the past, all within seconds. And it's those thought processes sometimes that override the 5 senses. So in either case, the brain doesn't know. It doesn't necessarily know. It just knows it's lighting up or the electrical current in the EEG is getting faster. And that means we've got a problem. So it saw a lion, and when it saw a lion, it's going to start to send a message to every system, every cell in the body. We're in sympathetic now. So we're in sympathetic. This is all happening in milliseconds. We see the lion, the kid darts out in front of us while we're driving. This is all in milliseconds that the brain lights up and it sends its first message to something called your hypothalamus, which is the base of the skull. So this hypothalamus, it releases a chemical. And I am not going to say the chemical because I will completely mess it up. Amy, what is the chemical it releases?
The corticotropin releasing hormone.
Say it again. Let's just say it again.
The corticotropin releasing hormone.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just call it CRH. Okay, so it releases CRH from the hypothalamus over to another area called the pituitary gland. Okay, this is happening in milliseconds. And then the CRH is sending this chemical signal via the electrical signal that started with the brain running fast. These chemical cascades are happening. And now the pituitary gland releases
adrenocorticotropic hormone.
ACTH. So we've got hypothalamus, pituitary gland, ACTH goes out, and all of a sudden that goes from the brain. Now we're leaving the brain, and the signal through ACTH is going to your adrenal glands, which sit on top of your kidneys. So down to my adrenal glands. I've made a travel distance here with this message. And the adrenal glands all of a sudden release a chemical referred to as
glucocorticoid.
Golly.
That one's pretty easy, right?
Yeah. Well, glucocorticoid, but most of us refer to that as cortisol. Cortisol gets released. And when this cortisol gets released, it has one purpose. Its purpose is to increase dramatically the amount of sugar you're producing. So this thing is called HPA axis. Every drug company on the planet is trying to find a way to chemically alter the HPA axis. Every person that has PTSD has had a flip of their HPA axis where they're just on constantly. But this cortisol gets released, this glucocorticoid, and then all of a sudden something happens that causes us to absorb more sugar. Can you explain some of that that's going on?
Right. So the first reaction to the activation of the HPA axis is that our human body would need sugar.
Yes.
So that we could have instant energy.
That's the whole purpose.
Right. So the first thing that happens is that the cortisol tells the cells to open more sugar pathways. So it's kind of as if you imagine little doorway proteins that pull glucose from your bloodstream into your cells. So now your cells have energy.
All this sugar.
Right.
All the sugar is getting absorbed.
But if we pulled the sugar out of the blood supply into the cells, then we need to replace the sugar in the bloodstream. Otherwise, we're going to tank
Yeah.
So then there's like a second thing that happens that involves our liver. And it's kind of cool because the liver's kind of the supply chain agent. And it's like, okay, so now we got to go to the back room and grab some more sugar. So the liver does two things. One is it breaks down stored glycogen into glucose because we have a certain amount that's stored. That's kind of like what's in your wallet.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have to go, if you use up everything in your wallet, you have to go to the bank and you have to liquidate some funds.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is a cool word called gluconeogenesis.
Wow.
Basically, if you break that up, it just means creating new sugar. And the liver is kind of in charge of that and uses chemicals to make that happen. But, it's so good. And it's so well described in that Zebra's book that I hate to try to say it because I'm just going to botch it. But another thing that happens is that the liver tells the body to reduce the insulin sensitivity. So we're not going to listen to insulin because we want to keep the sugar high and available. So that is one heck of an activation. You are ready at that point to literally run from a lion or lift a car off of somebody, or do one of these amazing things that people do. However, in real life, how often do we ever have that demand on us?
Right.
So what we end up with is this completely activated system ready to go and no place to go. And so then there's some fallout from that. And we're going to talk about that next time. We're going to try to unpack these common things we all experience that are related to this activation.
Yes. Amazing thing with inside of us. Okay, we are back to segment 4, which is normally Cortex Case Files, which it will be. But Amy and I were talking offline. We said we got to finish up the last one because there was a lot in there. So we're going to unpack the HPA axis more. Okay, but you understand kind of the flow of the electrical and the chemical and this whole sugar thing. Okay, so the sugar thing, if this is what you guys got to get into your mind, if it truly is a lion, okay, and I'm running from the lion, then the sugar is a very, very good thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But if I'm sitting at my desk and I'm thinking about what about my 401k? What about is my kid getting into school? Can I pay the bills? I can create the exact HPA axis problem because the autonomic nervous system is in sympathetic and sending that signal. And I now am causing the same sugar thing. My body doesn't know. So I'm not able to burn it off, right?
Right. So something that was intended for good is now actually really detrimental.
Yes.
And this is also kind of what Dr. Bentley was talking about, that our bodies can either be degenerating or regenerating. And it's really related to this HPA axis.
Yeah, you have a beautiful system. The autonomic nervous system, the brain, the oxygen, the energy, it's activating the HPA axis. We're just activating it with the wrong signal. We're like, go storm the castle, and there's no castle to storm, right?
Yep.
And we're doing this all day long, okay?
Yep.
So with this, when this demand happens, the body assumes this is going on, but it's not burning things off. So in Dr. Sapolsky's book, he mentions 3 out of 4 things that happen from this overuse of the HPA axis. And number 1, if your body is demanding sugar constantly, but you're not needing to burn it off, the number 1 thing that makes that prone to happen is that you will develop type 2 diabetes.
Right.
And that is growing at an exponential rate on our planet. And it's because of an overbalanced HPA axis.
Right.
Number 2 is, guess what happened? We start to store right where the adrenal glands are, our belly.
Yeah.
We start to store all this extra belly fat because the body thinks it's running from lions left and right and left and right. And there's no lion to run from. So we get this extra storage and it creates that apple shape. Number 1 cause of obesity is an HPA axis that's doing the right thing, but with the wrong mechanism to kick it in. 3rd, cardiovascular disease. This is the trifecta.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Number 1 cause of those 3 things. And then the 4th one that's now starting to come online is dementia, cognitive impairment because of almost what's referred to as a type 3 diabetic response.
Exactly. Yikes. Bad combination. And you'll hear us say this word later, but it all falls under an umbrella of inflammation.
Oh, I can't wait till we start. Okay.
So, but we're not going to talk about that today.
Yeah.
Because we're
Let's
going to
get to our
move
case
into
study.
a case study, an amazing individual that we were privileged to work with.
Yeah. So, let's see. I'm going to say 2008. I had an individual who was in college, and this person was playing Division I football, quarterback at an elite level. He's going into his senior year. He thought that he would like to go into the NFL. He was also in med school, or he's studying science, and he realized not in med school, but he was pre-med, and so he thought, hey, I'm going to have a good senior year, and I'm going to go into maybe get into the draft, right? And things didn't start off well for him that season. The first few games were really poor, just rocky, and his parents were at a Reclaim Your Brain lecture. We talked about that at the beginning, right? This is many years ago. But they were there, and they said, hey, we'd like you to meet our son and just talk to him a little bit about his brain. And really what I was going to be looking at is his autonomic nervous system, right?
Yeah.
And so he came in, I met with him, and I'm like, man, this guy's autonomic nervous system is really going super fast, right? Very fast. So even though there weren't any lions, his brain was acting as if there were lions. Now, football is stressful, but it's not really the same life and death thing. There might be moments sort of like that, but that's not what we're talking about. And so what had happened was all the what ifs, what about the last game, what if I don't do this, had all combined to cause the frontal lobe to activate at a pace that wasn't in balance, but that was in a fight, flight, or sympathetic state. So what do we know now for this college kid is, now that you guys have listened to this episode, we automatically know, because the nervous system is in sympathetic, that his HPA axis is overactivated. Now, he's probably burning a lot of things off. He's not going to have type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular at this point in his life, but you don't fix this, this is going to turn into a problem. So we started to look under the hood, and that's what you got to do. Take home again. If you're just looking at behaviors and not looking upstream, you're doing a disservice to the most amazing thing you possess, is your brain. And if you're doing that for your child, you're even doing more of a disservice, because you're there to help them, not just go in and answer questions for 8 minutes and put them on a medicine. You have to look under the hood, look at their brain, look at their heart, look at their breathing, what's supplying all the energy, and look at their nervous system. So I started looking under the hood, and I started seeing, wow, the brain is in sympathetic. That's affecting some of the recovery and sleep and hormones. But one of the things I noticed right away was the breathing was really off. So where do we get most of our oxygen from, or most of our energy comes from oxygen?
Right.
And the big piece wasn't that he couldn't breathe slow. I mean, this is an elite athlete,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
But he wasn't able to keep it consistent. So if you have this fuel supply into the heart, into the body of oxygen, you can breathe slow, but if the belly isn't causing the diaphragm to move correctly, then the breathing gets inconsistent. And so then the heart starts to go into a stress response. So we then looked at the heart and saw that you're going to learn more about this as we go. But the ideal frequency or speed of the heart was much lower than I wanted to see, way lower. And the high frequency, or the stress side of the heart, was really, really high. And he's just sitting there talking to me. Like, there's not like 6 lions in the room, right?
Right.
He's talking to me, and it's overactivated.
Yeah, I remember him sitting there working on the breathing with him, and that I see this extremely fit athlete beside me, and then I look at the screen, and it's like a brittle, like older person is what it looks like in the data.
Yeah, and if we didn't have that data, from the outside, you can't tell. I mean, this guy's like, smart. I mean, his IQ is brilliant guy through the roof. He's checking all the boxes, but the nervous system is not in balance. And he's trying to perform not just at an okay level, he's trying to perform at an elite level, and then maybe even go to pro sports where he's a subset of 30 people on the planet, right?
Right.
And so we started looking at this thing. It's like, well, we know the brain looks out of balance on the autonomic nervous system, but let's first look at the breathing. So he said to me, he goes, we have a bye week, but probably one of the biggest games of my career is in 2 weeks. Can you get me better by then? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't think I can do that. But I said, let's go for it. Let's try, right? Let's work not on your brain, not on these different hormones, which we sort of are, but let's work directly on your oxygen flow. Let's get your oxygen flow good so that your heart will get out of this fast, heavy stress, sympathetic response and get into a balance state. You see, when you get that breathing right, it can override the entire system. So we did that, and he went into that next game, and the next 6 games was just lights out. And we've worked together for 15, 16 years, and he's currently one of the highest paid quarterbacks in all of NFL history. And that would go back to, there's so many other things that he has done.
Right.
But one of the variables is changing the autonomic nervous system, stopping the HP axis overload, getting the brain to become his friend rather than his foe was the beginning of that. And we're probably going to have a quote from him in a few weeks about why his brain matters. But ding, 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 ding.
It's time for the 2-minute drill.
Let's go.
Sorry to cut you off, Doc.
No, but that was kind of fun, wasn't it?
Yeah. So originally in our first 2-minute drill, we just wanted each of you to stop and think, my brain matters.
Yeah.
My brain matters. And repeat that and figure out, do you really believe that? And if you do, why do you believe that? Your brain matters. And we hope as we continue on, we're going to just keep unpacking why your brain matters. But it has to be unique to each person as they come to understand more that their belief that their brain matters grows and how it matters and what you can do about it. Like, for example, this example, this person didn't really understand that their brain mattered to their issue at hand. All they saw was their issue at hand. And in fact, when we did the assessment, this person was kind of pleased that everything was validating the way that he felt.
Feeling. Yes.
He was like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is exactly how I feel. But he didn't know he could actually do something about it. So we talked about today that all the things that happen when you activate the HPA axis. And what I want you to leave with is, where are you on this dial of, is it activated or is it deactivated? So for like our athlete, we were helping him deactivate that. And then for many of us realizing like, I'm getting way up on my dial, we have tools to help to deactivate that. So breathing, you heard it about this athlete, and we want you to know it about yourself. The tool to deactivate this is your breathing, and you can do that anytime and any place.
Awesome. We can't wait to be with you guys next week. Let's go.